Hello and welcome to the agenda. I am Ajay Kaul. Today we will discuss about the warmongering by China in the midst of standoff at the line of actual control. Chinese President Xi Jinping has asked his country's army to be on full-time combat readiness and be prepared to act at any second. This directive has come at a time when China has mobilized tens of thousands of troops and assets like fighter aircraft and missiles along the border with India in Ladakh sector, creating an eyeball-to-eyeball situation. So is the Chinese president's statement indicative of something serious? Isn't it warmongering by China? We will discuss such questions in the agenda today. We have with us former Director General of Military Operations, retired Lieutenant General Vinod Bhatia, and retired Group Captain of Indian Air Force, M.J. Augustine Vinod. But before we begin our conversation, let's have a look at this small report.
Months after launching military aggression against India on the Ladakh border, Chinese President Xi Jinping has now resorted to warmongering of sorts. He has ordered the country's troops to be in full-time combat readiness and be prepared to act at any second. The statement made public has to be taken seriously since China has mobilized tens of thousands of troops on the line of actual control in the Ladakh sector. It has also deployed a large number of fighter planes and missiles close to the border in a threatening posture. India has undertaken the matching deployment of ground troops and air assets to thwart any misadventure by the Chinese army. China launched military aggression on the Ladakh border in early May last year in an attempt to alter the line of actual control. India responded quickly by mobilizing troops to prevent China's evil designs. The military face-off thus created continues. China refuses to move back its troops, which is essential for disengagement. The standoff continues even after 8th round of talks at the level of military commanders beside meetings between defense minister, foreign ministers and national security advisors of the two countries, where certain agreements were reached on disengagement. With China remaining belligerent, there is no indication of the 9th round of military commanders meeting. Amid the stalemate, Chinese president's statements can be seen as a red herring. Bureau Report.
Now let's welcome our guests, Lieutenant General Bhatia and Group Captain Augustine Vinod. Welcome to the program, sir.
Thank you, Jai Hind.
Jai Hind, sir. So General Bhatia, I'll first come to you. You must have read about Chinese president asking the army to be combat ready and act in a second or something like this. So how do you see? Is it warmongering, that kind of thing?
Not really. I don't say warmongering. It's more of a strategic signaling. It's a four-way signal. One, he wants the PLA to be operational, to be ready for war. Two, it is a signal to the local domestic population, Chinese people, that look, we are ready and we can take on India and the others who are also in the South China Sea and Taiwan Straits and others. Third, it is the signal to the world that China will continue to do what it is doing, that is military coercion. It will continue to disobey the rule-based world order, and it will only look after its interests and nothing more. It will keep the attention away from COVID. And fourth, of course, it is a major signal to India to see what they have. China basically miscalculated its move of the forward deployment along the LAC. And अभी उन्होंने शेख मुंह में हाथ तो डाल दिया है, अभी निकालना उनको नहीं आ रहा. That is the main thing.
Right.
Now, what do they do? He is continuing with the military coercion tactics strategy, which he continued since May last year, and he doesn't know how to get out of it. He miscalculated a very big way. He never expected such a resilient resolve, right in the face of Chinese aggression. It is the aggressiveness. So that arrogance continues, but the arrogance doesn't sound rational anymore because on the ground, nothing more seems to be happening for the last 3 to 4 months. It is mainly preparation to ride out the victors out there. That's what they're doing. And that is what India is also doing. We are standing firm out there. And today, if I may say so, I think it's a draw out there. They hold certain areas along our side of the LAC. We also hold certain strategically important heights which threaten their very, the major garrison of Waldo and Spangor Gap. So China did not expect that. So now it is a draw. It's a question of who blinks first. India is not going to blink. India is not. India's philosophy is very clear: no blinking, no brinkmanship, and that is what India is doing. So China has to now find a face-saving way out, and that is exactly what we were doing when it comes to about April, May. And definitely, I don't think it's going to be an easy one. It's not a long winter. It's a long year ahead, and maybe years ahead. And we need to resolve it in a diplomatic, military manner by talks. And force is not the way to resolve it. I'm sure China.
Yeah, as you just mentioned that maybe it is a signal to the army to be, I mean, it's a general thing to ask the army to be ready always. But if we see that in the context, it could have been dismissed if it was in general conditions. But if we see it in the context of the military build-up, so it can't be dismissed like that, isn't it?
Yes. Okay. The question is to.
Yeah, a question to you, Lieutenant Bhatia. Yeah, General Bhatia.
Okay, sorry.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yes, he has to tell the military to be ready, and that is something which is a given. But he also understands that he has written too much. He can written more than he can chew. So he has got no other way but to keep telling his arms, the PLA especially, to be ready. So I don't think it is a signal of war. We understand geopolitics as much as China understands geopolitics. China may not understand India, we may not understand China, but we understand geopolitics. It is not in China's interest to wage a war with India. China is looking at a much larger role in the global world order post COVID-19, and we know that the world order is going to shift from the west to the east. So China cannot be distracted by India. Because India is a global leader. India is a major power. China just cannot wish away India.
Right.
China will like to contain us. But the fact is that it is not easy to contain India the way India is going today in all domains, be it diplomatic, political, geopolitical, geostrategy, even technology for that matter, and military, of course.
So, Group Captain, I will come to you. You heard General Bhatia elaborating everything, giving an elaborate assessment of the situation. So, what is your view?
Thank you. And I'm completely in agreement with what General has said. See, China follows a. I mean, during my MPhil research as well as during my PhD research, I've been researching on these Chinese people and the way they play out certain strategies.
Around 7 to 8 days prior, the premier or somebody important will make a bigger statement. All this is when you come on the drawing board, sit down across the table with him. He wants to be a step above. We have discussed this issue earlier.
Right.
But the second aspect and the most important aspect, as you can rightly cover, it has to be looked at in the overall view of what panned out Salman.
Postal. And the amount of weapons that he has put against us in this area, including, as it was panning out today and yesterday, some kind of unorthodox weapon that he is wanting to put against us. What,
I think if I understood that unorthodox was, I think the spades they were used in Kazan, I guess. Maybe, perhaps.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And why did he get unnerved, rattled, which was brought out by General very lucidly, is the way we built up, which he did not expect that we will build up. This was not the India that his playbook said it is. This India really gave him a little bit of a surprise, especially the rate at which we built up, and now we are looking not only at Spangor Gap, we are also looking at Spangor. So his strategic thought at that place is completely checkmated, which really took him by surprise. Now, he's, in the south there is a kahavat which says Puliwal, which means you catch the tiger by the tail. Now you can't leave the tiger and you can't keep holding to the tail.
Right.
Now he is in such a situation. How does he extricate himself from this battlefield in which he is so hamstrung? There is no airfield to support him. The closest is Hotan, and beyond that is 1,500 kilometers away. And the area is completely in open, which means Indian Air Force can pick and choose the fight even before the fight begins. So he has got into holding the tiger.
Into a fix.
Yeah. So
So,
now, how
yeah.
does he extricate
Yeah.
himself? Diplomacy, Ajayji, is the only way he can extricate himself. And like you rightly said, who will blink first?
Right.
And this who will blink first is not, it is at the diplomatic table. वो playbook play कर रहा है.
Right.
He is wanting a bigger chunk. He is wanting to go back to his people to say, see, I emerged victorious from this battle, even though we lost hundreds of people at Galwan for stupid reason, etc., etc. That is not going to happen. We are not going to. We are not going to come out from that height to let him have a field day.
So not only at home, I think they have a prestige or reputation at stake internationally also. General Bhatia, what do you say on that? Because they are aspiring to be the global power, and if they have red face here, so it won't be good for them.
You're absolutely right. They're not looking at Asia anymore. He's looking at challenging the US for the first global power, and he's not going to get distracted. What he's doing is he's following he's following a playbook. He's got a long-term strategic plan.
Right.
He's not looking at India alone. He's looking at he's got major problems. Rather, he has gone in a major way in Taiwan. The median line is violated at will. South China Sea, East Sea. You look at Korea.
But sir, if I may interject here, if we notice that it is, as you mentioned, Vietnam, South China Sea, and all those are all maneuvers. China has not fought any war for maybe 40 years, while India has been fighting. Maybe the latest was just 20 years back. So, is it kind of a practice session they want to do in Ladakh?
War is not an option. War is the last resort. So, if he has got certain strategic intent, and if he achieves that intent without fighting a war, that is what Sun Tzu has taught, and that is what we all military.
General Bhatia, why I am saying is because President Xi has said that army should have military training in real combat conditions. So, if I am seeing more than what he said. So that
no, you are right. Unlike India, they haven't fought wars. They are not battle hardened. They're a soft army. They're a soft air force. They're also a soft navy. They have little experience. They can have aircraft carriers, but to exploit an aircraft carrier's potential, we need experience. Indians got the experience. We are battle hardened, combat rich army, air force and navy. We are military. We have our weaknesses. We are going to jointness. We are going to integration. They have integrated about 3-4 years ago. They are still finding, how to exploit that integration and jointness. They created the WTC and other 5-4 commands. But the point remains that they do not have combat experience, and that's a very, very major thing.
That's what I was saying. Yeah,
combat experience. Yes.
They have not tested their capabilities.
Absolutely, and not only combat experience. Let me also say that they have their one-child policy. So the PLA soldiers are risk averse. They cannot take risks. Then they are 40% of their the PLA is conscripts. So
Right.
20% change every year. And where does change occur? It doesn't occur in the changes don't take place in high-tech jobs like the Air Force and the Navy. The conscripts are in the frontline units. So they have a major problem out there. It is not that. We should understand the weakness of PLA. We always talk about their strength. Yes, they have technological strength. They are military might. No doubt about it. They're the largest armed forces in the world. Given all that. But when it comes to fighting, there's a difference between threatening and fighting.
That's what I was saying.
Yeah,
that is what I'm
saying. Absolutely right. They can't fight a war like this. They'll have to. India is combat hardened. We've been fighting almost on a daily basis. It is not no war, no peace. It is near war, no peace.
Right. So, Group Captain, if we talk about air assets, people are comparing Rafale with JF-17 and JF-20 and all those. So, as I just mentioned, that our assets or our military has been tested in real terms, in real combat like Kargil. I mean, we have had Mirages flying at 18,000 in those mountains, and in the real combat. We have not seen Chinese doing that. I mean, in real combat. What do you say?
Let me explain this with a small incident. Maybe it was a thought of incident.
Yeah.
It may not be real, but it is a very famous incident from a movie called 300. The 300 warriors are going towards a narrow area when handful of other warriors from a small kabila want to join. The leader of the warrior asked, "Who are you? What do you do?" He said, "I'm a farmer." He asked the other guy, "What do you do?" "I'm a blacksmith." "Who are you?" "I'm a carpenter." 3-4 लोगों को और पूछता है, 4-5 और प्रोफेशन बताते हैं. And he asked his soldier, "Who are you?" And they give out a war cry. They are professional soldiers going to fight or going to do what they know 100% to do it right. If you look at PLA has a country to run. Also, they also do military work. ये basic फर्क है. PLA has a country to run, Ajay ji. That our viewers have to understand. They have to look after everything that a country, for running of a country. Also look after the border.
Right.
And they are conscript soldiers who come here for 1 year. Brotherless, sisterless society. How are they going to win a war? You tell me logically. When these people come,
No, I was asking you about the air comparison.
I am coming to the same air assets, sir. So their pilots fly on an average 75 hours a year, which is the best they have achieved. It used to be, when I was young, it used to be 20 hours a year because they have other things to do, like running the country, being a political appointee, looking after police. Do you know their fighter pilots also get posted as in charge of police district? So these are the kind of jobs that they do. And when they confront people who do real combat, who do pull 9 Gs and get behind them in no time, that is the time they come to know कि भैया ये किससे पाला पड़ा है. And they got a taste of that in Galwan. And Galwan was just a curtain raiser. How many people they lost, eventually we came to know. So it is not going to be, their generals are not, I think, fools. I hope not. I hope they have some sense prevail and like General Bhatia covered, that they are looking to up the ante slightly so that they have slightly better talking point when they come on the table, and so that they can extricate themselves of the current situation honorably without having to go back to their countrymen and say, look, what happened to me was bad.
General Bhatia, I also find significance in this statement. I mean the timing, because 8 rounds of military commander level talks happened maybe a month back or so, and there is no indication of next round, because I think there are some differences on that. So is that also something to do with this, posturing?
100%. It is the three warfare strategy, as they call it. It is public opinion, it is information wars, legal war, and they follow the set pattern. But irrespective of our discussions, irrespective of our strength, irrespective of the weaknesses with China, one thing we should be very certain about: China, we should not take it. We should not be complacent about it.
Right.
We should not be overconfident about it. We'll have to build capabilities. We'll have to enhance capacities. We'll have to face up to it, and especially in the COVID time and post-COVID times, we have an issue out there. We have to understand that China is 5 times the more comprehensive national power than us. We should have no doubts about it. I'm sure China knows that, and we know it, and that is we have to factor in, irrespective of our advantages, on the ground, in the air. But the fact remains that there are multiple domains in which China has got advantages. Cyber domain, it has got information war domain, it's got space domain, it has got the missile domain. So there are major advantages in China, and there are much more bigger economic power than us.
Right.
Today, that has to be factored in. So we should not be complacent we should ensure that we have the capabilities and the capacities, and we continue to reinforce the capacity and capabilities, and we have our eyes and ears open. We do whatever is right to do, because if China finds a weakness, it will exploit it.
And we also had to be careful and alert because of the deceitful nature China has, and we have been stung again and again, isn't it, General Bhatia?
Yes, absolutely. We have a vulnerable flank. China exploit it. We should not have vulnerable flanks, whether it is in the military, in the economic, in the diplomatic, whatever we say. We should not have any this thing, and we'll have to look at outside India also. We'll have to look at trying to balance with like-minded nations where we have convergence of interest, congress of interest. We'll have to look at it within the strategic autonomy. I'm not saying strategic autonomy is also there, but within the strategic autonomy, like we have the Quad going on, and the Indo-Pacific we got things going. We have a U.S. dispensation which is going to take over. What is their policy after the last 4 years? We'll have to see that. But we'll have to make sure, one thing we'll have to make sure, and I must say this with a lot of caution, we have to look at China, and we have to reset our China policy, we have to refresh our China policy, but our China policy should not be anti-China, it should be pro-India. There are differences between anti-China and pro-India. We'll have to look at the Indian national interest, what is our national interest, and we should take care of our national interest. We have to protect and project our national interest, and we should not, anger is fine. Galwan is we are very angry. Look at 20 of our men who were made the Supreme Secretary. It is betrayal is there, but our policy should be pro-India and looking after national interests.
Right, as you importantly mentioned about the change of guard in US, and that will have a major impact because Trump was considered very hard and Biden is considered to be very maybe soft on China, and I think there are reports emerging from China that Biden is going to reset relations with China. So how do you see Biden administration vis-a-vis China? General Bhatia.
Question.
All nations will firstly look after their national interests.
Yeah.
They will not look after India's interests, they will look after their own national interests. But the fact is, when the transition takes place from one dispensation to another dispensation, there is a time lag. If you look at Iran, what Iran has done, it has confiscated or taken a South Korean ship today. It is not South Korea, it is challenging the US. That look, there is a transition going on 20th January, the changeover will take place, and they find a weakness out there. So this is a very sensitive time for India before the next dispensation sets in. Their policies are clearer, but I do feel that for the time being, US will look after the interest, and there is a convergence of interest between US and India. It is not only Trump; it is US interest. US needs India as much as India needs US for that matter.
Right. Group Captain, as General Bhatia mentioned about US needs India, and we just saw yesterday outgoing US ambassador saying that he talked about sustained aggression by China against India, and he also said that basically India should look at US as a friend against China. How do you see?
No, US is nobody's friend. It is friend of money, and we are doing a lot of business with them.
Yeah.
A lot of new arsenal, especially Air Force arsenal, has come from US, and there is also a talk of more aeroplanes being bought. So with all that at the background, China is only dumping useless stuff into many countries, including US. But like you rightly covered, Ajayji, Biden is going to bide his time in taking decisions. He is not like Trump. Trump used to run his country via Twitter. Biden is not going to do that.
He used to go hammer and tongs.
Biden is going to listen.
Hammer and tongs.
Really, I don't know.
Yes.
But I also want to bring a little focus for the benefit of our viewers the way General Bhatia answered your previous question.
Yeah.
He very clearly said, do not underestimate your enemy, study the enemy, etc., etc. So that is a seasoned soldier talking.
Right.
And that is how professional soldiers approaches war. He may be, pit against the weakest of the enemy. He still will not go unprepared for the war. And he will fully understand the battlefield. He will fully put his strength against the enemy's weakness. He will find out everything that needs to be found out about the enemy so that we emerge victorious. Can the same thing be said about the conscript army? That was my question earlier.
Right.
If we no doubt that we will not and we should not underestimate the enemy. And there are areas in which he is strong. But we are stronger in areas that we are talking about, especially in North Ladakh. We are very strong. In the Galwan, that area, we are very strong.
No,
Where we are weak, we have talked about where we are weak earlier.
So, Group Captain, we have to close. So, last question, because General Bhatia was not saying we are weak or something. We are strong, but he was saying that we can't be complacent. We have to maintain the high level of alertness.
That is my point, sir.
Yeah.
That is how a professional soldier approaches any battle.
Right.
And multiple battles make into war.
Right.
But I totally agree with him that a responsible country like China is not war currently is not on its back. They are not Pakistan. We cannot equate both the.
No, I won't trust them. I won't trust them. They are like Pakistanis and they are deceitful.
No question of trusting anyone. Trust yourself, team.
Yeah.
Great capability and capacity. Trust yourself, guard, protect your interests, and that is all there is to it. You cannot trust anyone in this world for that matter. When national interests are concerned, there's no trust.
Yeah.
We are our own, and we have the capability and the capacity. We have the strength, but we should not be complacent, and we have to keep building on our strength.
Right. Trust but verify is very important. But unfortunately, our time has run out. Thank you both of you for participating in this debate.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
This is all in the agenda today. Thanks for watching. I'll be back with another important topic tomorrow. Till then, goodbye.